I want to talk about Celina Mays. This is a heartbreaking case. 12-year-old girl goes missing, 2 weeks away from giving birth. You heard me right. And 2 weeks away from giving birth to her first child at the age of 12. She goes missing in 1996. She's never been seen since. So this is Celina Mays here. This is the age progression picture of her that the National Centre of Missing and Exploited Children, NECMEG, put out. I don't believe that Celina is alive. I think she was killed before the birth of her baby. If I had to answer correctly what I think. I do want to talk about this case. 12. So Celina Mays went to sleep around 11 p.m. on Sunday, December the 15th, 1996. The 12-year-old had been in a good mood as she headed off to bed, and there had been no indication that anything was troubling her at the time. When her stepsister went into Celina's bedroom to wake her up on Monday morning, she was nowhere to be found. She never returned to her Willingboro home in New Jersey, and she was never seen again. Now, Celina lived with her father, CJ. Thank you, Rosie. She lived with her father, CJ, as well as her stepmother and several other relatives, adult relatives. She had moved in with them 2 years earlier after her mother died. And this is the real tragedy. Celina's mum loved her more than anything in the world, right? This little girl loved her mummy. And when her mum died, her whole life changed. And literally tearing up even thinking about it. Like, I have a 13-year-old. I can't even imagine a 12-year-old being 9 months pregnant. She moved in with her father and these other relatives, and it had been a horrific change for Celina. Nothing good came of that move. She had gone from having a mother who took her to school every morning, picked her up, made sure she ate veggies, took her to the park, took an interest in her, braided her hair, complimented her, made her feel like the most special kid in the world, like we all do for our kids. She went into a household that was full of religious nutters, of people who were in a culty-like thing called the Gospel of Christ Ministries, and absolutely Celina was picking her in bedtimes, doing whatever. She was spending a lot of time in the adult kind of realm of male men who were spending a lot of time with her. It was very a very strange world. Her father, CJ, obtained custody of Celina, and the one alarm that we always see here is he took her out of school straight away and started to homeschool her. Now, I'm not saying homeschooling is a bad thing for parents to do, but often it is used to cover up abuse. Sarah Sharif, I'll just quote that one case. If they hadn't taken her out to homeschool her, they never would have got away with murdering her. We see a lot of times when kids are able to go to school and ask for help from grown adults and teachers, all of a sudden they're taken out to be homeschooled. We also know in this home of lots of adult members operating some kind of cult called the Gospel of Christ Ministries, she all of a sudden was in this world with all these people that had not had really anything to do with her life before, all of her father's relatives. But now she is stuck in a home, not able to get out or see anyone. Thank you, Carol. Now, there had been many complaints made against the church by former members who accused this gospel church of brainwashing. And Celina's family said, look, she had no problem with being raised in the church. She loved it, and she would never have run away. But other people who have kind of escaped from the situation have been like, no, she didn't. She was not respected. She wasn't taken care of. She didn't have any choice in anything. So, like I said, at the time of her disappearance, she was heavily pregnant, 2 weeks away from giving birth. Her due date was December the 29th. And despite her age, she had been doing everything she could to ensure she had a healthy pregnancy. She was seeing an obstetrician. She was taking prenatal vitamins. This absolutely breaks my heart to even say that she was keeping on track of it herself. Now, according to her father and her father's relatives, nobody knew who the baby's father was. No one knew who the baby's father was. He said that she refused to tell anyone. Now, I'm sorry, as a father or a mother, that would not be good enough for me. If my 12-year-old daughter is pregnant, I need to know who, where, what rape has happened at that point, because a 12-year-old can't consent. So at that point, I need to know. The obstetrician didn't seem bothered about who the father is. He didn't phone for any help. He didn't contact any outside agency. Like, how have you got a 12-year-old, a baby, carrying a baby, and you're not informing authorities? It makes no sense. So the family say that Celina willingly left home. She stuffed some of her pillows underneath her blankets to make it look like a body in the bed, but she didn't take anything with her. She didn't take a CD with her, her favourite one, clothing, her purse, and most of all, she did not take her prenatal vitamins that she'd been taking daily. She didn't take those things. And so on Tuesday, a day after she went missing, her father called the Willingboro Police Department in New Jersey and reports her missing. Now, Celina's relatives are all kind of questioned by the police, who think it's quite weird that there's all these adults living in one home preaching this kind of cult-like behaviour. They check hospitals in the area, checking if she's suddenly gone into labour. And this seems to be the main kind of hope in the case, that in the next 2 weeks, Celina is going to have to go into labour at some point, and at that point, she's going to try to get help. And they truly, they really do believe that at some point she's going to have to present somewhere to give birth. That never happens. 3 weeks after Celina was last seen, detectives make a public appeal for her. 3 weeks after she's reported missing. An in danger, vulnerable girl who's 12 and 9 months pregnant. And you wait 3 weeks to put out an appeal. They said, look, we should have had a baby by then, and we're unable to find any evidence she's given birth anywhere in New Jersey. We don't know if she's a victim of foul play or not. Right now, we're not ruling anything out. We just want to know what scenarios could be, kind of. There was no concern. There was no, we're going to find out who did this to this little girl, who got her pregnant, who took her life, any of those things. There was none of that. No concern. Now, CJ said his daughter had run away from home because he had threatened to have a paternity test done on the baby. So he said, I think that once the baby was born, I was going to do a paternity test, find out who the father of the baby was. And so that's why Celina has run. I would say that's not what's happened at all. I would say whoever the adult male is living in that home as part of your gospel fucking group has panicked because they know that there's going to be a paternity test done at some point. And so they've got rid of Celina and the baby. That's obviously, to me, thank you, Julian, what I think has happened. Willingboro Police Department said that they were worried about Celina. They said it's kind of scary. I'm hoping she's safe, but I don't know. It's not normal. She's disappeared and nobody knows anything. I would assume a 12-year-old kid would definitely call at Christmas. He said it's like she had someone waiting to take her away. Now, Celina did have relatives of her mother's in Florida and Michigan. However, she didn't turn up to see any of them. She never called them. Now, Celina Cram, one of Celina's maternal aunts living in Tampa, said if she's alive, she needs to know that her mother's family, we want her and her baby. There's no questions asked. We will take care of both of them and we want her. Thank you, final. Now, Cindy noticed that Celina's mother and father hadn't been on good terms, and no one from the maternal side had been allowed to have any contact with her since she had been taken to live with CJ 2 years before. Thank you, the final rules. Thank you so much. Before that, they had been given loads of access. Obviously, Celina's mum was obviously alive at that point, and they all knew Celina. They were in and out of her life. She had cousins. Thank you, Whipped Cream. She had all of these cousins, loads of maternal family, and all of a sudden, the day that her mum died, that all just stopped and was taken from her. Like, what more can you take from this little girl? What more could you take from her? And then when she's gone missing, no one wants to talk about her, no one wants to appeal for her, no one wants to step forward to help find her. It makes me absolutely so angry. Celina's half-brother, Ben Gelano, lived in Dryden, Michigan. He was obviously her mum's child and had a different father. He tried desperately to stay in contact with Celina. They'd been raised together. He said, I tried so hard. Her father would not let me see her. He wouldn't let me talk to her on the phone. And the day my mum died, I lost my sister too. Now, CJ and Celina's mother and Ben's mother, Ben. This family they had, Celina, Ben and her mum, was just so different for Celina. She grew up knowing, I'm loved, till she was 10. I'm loved. I've got this support system, my big brother's here, and then all of a sudden it was just pulled from underneath her. Now, if there was no abuse going on in the father's home, why did you need to isolate her from everyone she knew? Why did you need to isolate her from every single person? At this point, I can't even be sure the dad wasn't the baby, her own father. I can't be sure of it because you didn't act in the right way as a father. Surely as if your child's other parent dies, surely as a parent, you want to keep everyone current and present in the child's life. They've already lost so much. 100% Sunshine. She lost her mum. She lost her mum. She lost a piece of her heart, a piece of her heritage, a piece of her people. Your mum is everything to a little girl. And then she lost her brother, then she lost her aunts and her maternal side of the family. Like, you were doing everything you could to take everything for this little girl. And at some point, somebody took this little girl's virginity, got her pregnant, and then took her life. Now, CJ and Celina's mother, Lynn, when they were in a relationship, their relationship was tumultuous. CJ was very abusive. And he always claimed that the reason that Lynn's family never accepted him is because he was from the black community. Well, Lynn's sister said, no, we were referred to as the white demons and we were called lots of things. My sister was abused by this man. You know, it wasn't a race thing for us. And we, even after my sister had passed away, we loved Celina. And Celina was half black and we loved her. It didn't matter to us. Like, we adored this little girl and we were devastated when she was taken away. CJ admitted he was no angel. He had been in and out of jail when Celina was younger and he had abused alcohol. He had been violent towards Lynn. And he said, and I didn't even pay child support, but he said, you know, I wasn't perfect, but I was a good dad. So you're in and out of jail, so you weren't there till she's grown up. You're committing DV against her mum. You don't pay any money for her. Yes, Muka. No, it's not. I'm in a true crime case. All of those things, like, so you're beating her mum, you don't see your daughter, you're in jail, you don't pay child support, you abuse alcohol, but I'm actually an okay dad. Now, he said that getting involved in this cult church was what helped him turn his life around. Now, Lynn, obviously Celina's mum, died of a brain hemorrhage. And because she died of a brain hemorrhage in May of 1994, she didn't have time to put anything into place. She didn't know she was going to die. It happened instantly. Celina didn't have time to prepare herself for her mother's death. And everybody knows that if Lynn had known she was dying, she would put something in place to make sure Celina went to her sister, to make sure she went with her brother. She never, ever would have willingly passed away without making sure she'd put a safe and secure framework around her daughter. Now, Cindy, her sister, Lynn's sister, said, look, when my sister died, her and Celina were alone in the house. Her and Celina were living together. Ben had moved out, he was older. CJ was nowhere to be found. There was no one there. CJ only came back after my sister was already dead for 3 weeks, and he wanted to demand Celina from us. Now, I have to say this because I would have to pay homage to his family. The sisters of Lynn, so the maternal aunts of Celina, they fought hard for her in the court. They absolutely fought hard for them, and the courts just went completely against them because he was dad. And they tried to say, like, this is what mum would have wanted. We've been current in her life. We've been present in her life. This is what's good for Celina. Celina also wanted to go with her aunts, and the courts went against that. Thank you, Kirsty. A bit of custody followed, a custody battle. Then Dad got to have them and got to have Celina, and the sisters weren't allowed any access because he had said so. And the court said they weren't getting involved with that, with outside family issues, which I just can't understand. When he wants to have Celina, but he doesn't want to keep all the people in Celina's life that she needs, makes no sense. So at the time the judge approved Celina at age 10 going to live with CJ, he was living in a house with his sister, his sister's partner, his sister's son, and loads of other members of a gospel church that they weren't even related to. So the people living in that house was her father, stepmother, aunt, uncles, 5 of their children, 4 teenagers, and a 23-year-old boy. So she was sent to live in this home. Now, what was happening here, and this happened a lot in 1996, there was no home checks done. There was no home checks at all. No, like, was there any convicted paedophiles? Was there anyone in that home that could pose a threat to Celina? Did she know anyone in that home? Did she feel comfortable in that home? What was the room situation? Who was sleeping? There was none of it done. She was simply, oh, that's your dad. There you go. That was it, done. Now, Celina's life instantly with her father was centred around the gospel of the Christ Church in Mount Holly. Celina's aunt, Sarita, was the pastor of the church. Her father was the bookkeeper, and her stepmother was the secretary. The church was small with around 30 members, and they wrote all the rules for the church. Residents of Mount Holly told reporters they had lodged several complaints against the church because of the excessive noise. One of the neighbours said they would not listen to any request to quiet down. It was 100% another child failed by the system. It was primal screaming, pure guttural, that would come from that house. And you would hear the children screaming, adults screaming, guttural noises. Like, what was happening to her when the scream is happening? What's happening to the children in that house? Sarita used a microphone to scream, "This is war, I'll fight you all," over the hedge to neighbours. 2 former church members that said they had been charged with trespassing when they returned to get their property and remove their children from the church who were in there. They said it was a cult. Now, not only was her family like the people that created the Bible for this church, made the rules, secretary, bookkeeper, pastor, they were also in charge of every church event. They limited interactions with anyone outside of that church and that house. They won't let anybody talk to anyone. That's why Celina couldn't even go to a school. And it was like every single person who was trying to not protect this little girl was doing it in layers, and the government weren't stopping it, child services weren't stopping it, just nobody stopped it. The aunts were screaming, no one was hearing them. She was absolutely failed. And then since she's gone missing, because she's a little girl from the black community, no one talks about it, no one covers it, no one seems to be chasing it up, no one seems to be doing nothing. It was quite clear that because of the limitations of Celina's life, not being able to go to school or speak to anyone else or being isolated, the father of that baby had to come from inside that home. Where else could she have met someone? She wasn't allowed to go to school. She was too young to have a job. She wasn't allowed to play. She wasn't allowed to do any of these things. The only people that it could have been was her father, her uncle, or a 23-year-old man in that house. Or her grandfather. Or her aunt's boyfriend. They're the only 5 people it could have been. Now, a former church member, Mayo Goldman, said Celina had no contact with the outside world. They want to shut you off from outside communication. You're not allowed to communicate. She was in charge. She was controlled by Sarita. She had a controlling spirit that's unreal. The littlest things she would freak out about. She would control anything she could control. Detectives wanted to identify the father of Celina's baby, but they couldn't get anyone to come forward. Hey, Louise. They couldn't get anyone to come forward and give themselves up as the father of the baby. They had no baby to do DNA with. They had no way of Celina was gone, the baby was gone, so they had no way of doing it. Now, Celina was 11 when she got pregnant. She was 12 at this time. She was 11 when she got pregnant. So the father of her baby would face felony sexual assault charges. Now, she had gone... So Celina's only talk with anyone from the outside world about who the father of her child is was she told the doctor, "The father of my baby is a 16-year-old boy," which we believe to this day, what I believe and many people in the community, that she was being told that by her father. That's what she had to say. Now, former church member Tyrone Jackson, who left the church in the very early 90s. So I think it's possible that CJ doesn't know. He's just as brainwashed as everyone there. He's stupid. But there's no doubt in my mind that Sarita would know exactly who's spending time with her niece and knows exactly who the father is. I believe CJ does as well, to be fair. Now, investigators did try in the beginning very hard to find Celina. They received a few tips, and that church just closed in on themselves, wouldn't speak, didn't want to talk, wouldn't let people search. They just did not want to get involved. They kind of shut themselves off from everything and refused to give answers. Thank you, Jennifer. Lieutenant Donna Dimitri said, "We were able to find other people who saw her. We're thinking that a young 9-month pregnant girl would be pretty recognisable. We weren't able to find people that saw us, I should say." Now, obviously, it would be easy, right? A little 12-year-old girl, little sweet face, beautiful curly hair. If you had seen this little girl pregnant in your neighbourhood, you would have noticed, right? No one ever saw her. Now, by January, investigators had to change everything, the posters, the flyers, the banners, everything, because she would have given birth by then. So now they would be looking for a 12-year-old who was possibly with a baby. Or if the baby had been taken, she was possibly just a 12-year-old girl again. No baby. We also know in younger people, their body tends to go back quite quickly. Those things, she may not even appear to have been pregnant at that point. We know to this day, there's no evidence she gave birth in any local hospital, not in New Jersey, not in New York, nowhere around the area did she give birth. And from what they know from the reports about no doctor anywhere, midwives came forward and said in any hospital in the United States, anyone delivered the baby of a 12-year-old, which you'd think would actually ring a bell to anyone. Now, because of how, this is heartbreaking, but because of how small her hips were and her body wasn't formed enough to give birth to a baby, she'd already been told that she would have to give birth by cesarean, which would eliminate even further, thank you, Maria, thank you, E.T. It eliminates even further what could have happened here, right? Because you would remember if you had to perform a cesarean on a 12-year-old little girl. Now, this makes me so disgusted and so sick. The obstetrician was a woman who was seeing Celina at 12 pregnant and 11. She told the detectives the reason she didn't go to the police about an 11-year-old girl being pregnant is because Celina was extremely mature for her age. This is just another way in society which we're making it absolutely okay for paedophiles to operate amongst us. Let's blame the child, like she was just so mature for her age, that's why I said nothing. You didn't get her help. A child. She had to be mature. She watched her mum die from a brain hemorrhage. She watched her mum die, her one constant, die on the kitchen floor. She had to be grown. But her having to grow because of what she went through didn't mean she deserved to be raped. Didn't mean she deserved to have her body impregnated at an age where she couldn't even legally or physically give birth to that child. Oh, she's mature. She goes, I had given the father a chance to tell me who the father of that baby was, and they were insistent about getting me the help to identify the person. And obviously, because her father was so keen on getting me the information about who the father may have been, I didn't assume he was guilty. That's really insistent for a guilty person. Well, weirdly, if he had have done this, he would have said to you, like, oh, yeah, I'll get you the information. I'll find out who it is for you. So then, when they said to the obstetrician, when she didn't turn up for her 9-month appointments, why didn't you then even call the police about this girl being pregnant? She goes, well, I just thought she would have run away with her boyfriend in an act of rebellion. So again, victim blaming and shaming, like she must have run. She was rebellious. She must have. How do we know she didn't run to get away from abusers? How do we know she didn't run away from rape? How do we know she didn't run away because she didn't want her baby to go through what she was going through? How do we know that's not the fact? Why would you not call for help? At this time, this case makes me so ill because this little baby was helpless. She was helpless. We know as women, I know as a woman, loads of you in here will know what it's like, and some men in here, to be domestically abused, to be in a house where you feel like, I just feel so trapped. But to be 10, have your whole world limited to just the members of your family inside of that home, and then to be pregnant and your body's changing and it's aching and it's hurting and your baby's kicking and you're so scared of what birth's going to be like and what's going to happen and all of those things, and you're, the only place you're being taken is to an obstetrician, a doctor. And every time this beautiful little 12-year-old had left that doctor's appointment, she would have thought, maybe today someone's going to call. Children's Services didn't even know at this point about her. No one knew. Yeah, that obstetrician was her one hope. That's why I always say, if you see something, say something, because Celina may still be here. And yes, she would still be traumatised. Yes, she would have had a baby through rape. Yes, she would have had help from different services. She maybe would have gone back to her aunts, like they said she was welcome to. I mean, I've loved grandfather. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Sarah. It's she also allowed it with you. You mean? Okay, I'm so sorry. Literally, I'm so sorry, Sarah, that you've been through this. So, a month after Celina was last seen, so remember she'd been missing for 3 weeks before the police even put out an appeal. Then the police offered a £5,000 reward for information leading to Celina's whereabouts. They asked for the help of the FBI. The National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children got involved, and they all distributed her picture far and wide. 2 months after Celina vanished, a detective updated and said, look, I think, in New Jersey, I definitely believe she was alive and being kept somewhere. And we hope that one day we can return her to her maternal family. Now, CJ, her father, blamed the maternal side of her family. He was like, they're the ones that have got her. They're the ones that have her. Now, obviously, I've got the age progression picture to what she'd look like today. This was her in her 20s, and she look how beautiful. Such a stunning girl, like she always was. She always was going to be. And I wish we could have seen her at that age with the smile. This is the age progression, the more latest one. as she would have reached her 40s, etc. So it's just, how do we get to know this little girl purely by age progressed pictures? Detectives noticed that Celina's maternal relatives had cooperated in the investigation. All of their houses had been cleared because the dad kept saying the maternal family have got her. They allowed their homes to be searched. They did everything they could to help, whereas his side of the family would not help. The Mays family, which was obviously Celina Mays, her father's side, wouldn't even allow the home to be searched. And a judge refused a warrant to search the home, saying the family were the victims in this case because she was missing and it didn't need to be searched. But the aunts and the brother and everyone on the mum's side was like, yeah, come in. They just wanted to find Celina. Cindy, one of Celina's maternal aunts, believed that Celina originally was still alive in New Jersey. She said, it seems obvious to us. They're not worried because they know where she is. She's been taken somewhere to have that baby. Months passed, then years. And in January of 1998, Celina's cousin, 23-year-old Sean Smith, who had lived in the home with Celina, was charged with aggravated sexual assault of 2 underage girls while members of the Gospel of Christ Church. Sean, who was Sarita's son, and her cousin, Celina's cousin, had lived in the same house with Celina at the time of her disappearance. And there are many rumours that he was the father of her child. 23, she was 12, 11 when he got pregnant. CJ admitted later, her father, that Sean had got 2 young girls pregnant who were between the ages of 10 and 13, but he was not the father of Celina's baby. Detectives noted it was a possibility, but they have no concrete proof. In July of 1999, the Willingboro Police Department released a computer-enhanced picture, which I just showed you. Detectives were hopeful that Celina was still alive, and no tips really trickled in. And over the next 2 decades, age progression after age progression was released with nothing. And here we are now, 1996. We're now here. Her baby would be heading towards 30 now. She would be 42 this year. 42, and her baby would be 28 this year. Nearly 29. Her baby would be 28, and she would be, just the age is just so heartbreaking. So again, Celina Jeanette Mays was just 12 and 9 months pregnant when she vanished from Willingsboro in New Jersey on December 1996. Detectives have no idea what happened to her, or if she was a victim of foul play. If she's still alive, she has brown eyes, black hair. At the time of her disappearance, she was 5 feet tall and weighed 120 pounds. And if you have any information, you can call the Willingboro Police Department on 609 877 2253.